Hi guys, Andy here. So I've been sent a Blitzwolf BW MP1 projector. So at this point we're going to open up. See what we have inside. So the actual projector unit, we'll come to that in a second. There's a feedback card, I'm guessing. Yeah. A user manual, which I may well have to look into. Just an input cable of some kind, I think. I don't know yet. I'm not good with my audio visual, to be honest. And we've got a little remote, which doesn't feel like batteries are included. No. All pretty cool, and obviously the power cable, which looks to be your regular kettle lead. Just knocked Deadpool over at the back there. So the unit itself, let's have a look. So there's where the power goes in, obviously. There's a foot stand, I assume, so you can tilt it up. Now there we go. So on the side we have audio jack output, an AV input, an HDMI input, an SD card slot, a USB port for input, and then a USB 5-volt charging port. That's interesting. Charging port, as in it will charge your devices, or as in you can charge the unit itself up and use it. It's kind of a soft touch plastic on there. It does feel very good, actually. It feels very solid. Oh, there's a VGA connector at the bottom there. Have I missed anything else? That looks like a speaker. Well, rubber lens cap. Yeah, it feels quite good quality. The whole thing does feel pretty good quality. It's £70. It's available on Banggood. Obviously, we've got some rubber controls on the top of the device. Let me read through a few of the things on the website about it. So it says it's Wi-Fi ready. It lists iOS, Android and Windows, DLNA compatible as well. Some specifications on the device. High quality LED bulb offers 1200 lumens brightness, which is pretty good. 800:1 contrast. I'm not sure how that compares to monitors and things. 20,000 hours lifetime and 16 million colours. It's got a focus adjustment, so I guess as you project at an angle, and obviously the wall you're projecting, oh, Deadpool's getting in the way, look. The wall you're projecting onto obviously is flat. If you take it to an extreme like that, it's going to be a very stretched, weird, elongated image. But it can correct up to 15 degrees apparently and square it up. So obviously it'll make the bottom of the image a bit wider, so as it hits the wall, it looks square, if that makes sense. It can project up to 130-inch screen size. Interesting. I'm not sure I've got a wall big enough for that, to be honest. Yeah, I've mentioned the VGA input, so I think that's most of it. Most of the specs covered. So I think really at this point, it does 1080p. Native resolution it says is 800 by 480, but highest input resolution is 1080p. So you can input at 1080p, but only comes out of 480p. Is that what I'm reading? Projector size 34 inches to 130 inches. So I'm reading off the actual spec sheet now. Power 55 watts maximum. I think everything else. Speaker 8 ohms, 1 watt. So the speaker's a bit naff. You really need to plug some speakers into it. But there we go. So I think really at this point, it's for me to try the device. And come back to you to tell you what I think. I'll try and get some video of it working, I suppose. I don't know how well it will show on video, but we'll see. So I'll be back with you shortly. Right, so I've used the Blitzwolf a little bit, and I've got a few thoughts on it. It was easy enough to connect to the home network. You connect via the instructions on the screen to the web address it gives you, and it gives you like a settings page. You put in the details of your own home network, it connects, and that was easy enough. It then told me there was a firmware update. It downloaded the update. It took quite a while. It's quite a lengthy process, downloading and then, slowly applying it to the device. And then a little bit of trouble. It kept saying like reboot the dongle, so I turned the power off, back on. When I went over to the Wi-Fi mode input, it still had the message reboot the device. So in the end, I turned it off, pulled the power, left it for sort of 30 seconds, put the power back in, and then it seemed to be okay. But it says it uses DLNA. I don't really see how. So once I connected to the home network, I couldn't particularly tell then. Normally, if it's on my TV, I can browse to, I've got a Servio server with all my stuff on. I couldn't see how to do that. Maybe I was being a bit stupid. The instructions weren't particularly clear. So anyone watching this that knows how to, please do comment how it's done. On the plus side, though, I love that there's so this out 5 volts, that is, you can charge your phone off that while the device is plugged into the power. But what it also means is you can plug your Chromecast into the HDMI and then power it through that port. And you've got yourself a Chromecast. So I wasn't too worried by the lack of DLNA because of the Chromecast support. I used the SD card slots. It didn't recognise my high-speed SD card slot from my DSLR, but it did recognise my sort of fairly regular SD card. Although different files that I put in there, it struggled with a little bit, so I played an MKV file and it didn't have any sound. I think this is a fairly common issue. I remember having that problem, or being told there's that problem with my Kia VR, for example. I guess it's some kind of licensing thing, I'm not sure. Maybe obviously it's codecs as well, but MKVs particularly. So you could just re-encode that. I played other stuff, an MB4 I think played fine. What I did realise, although you've got the height adjustable foot at the bottom, you do need the device to be fairly square on to the wall that you're projecting onto. When I say square on, I mean sort of height-wise. Otherwise you're pointing up at such an angle, and even with the adjustment that we get here, it can't overcome if you're pointing way up at a wall that high. So you want to get it roughly. I guess ideally you kind of almost hang it from your ceiling if you're going for it properly. The inbuilt speaker isn't too bad at the bottom there. It was actually loud enough, I guess, really. But then I did use the headphone out to plug in my soundbar. The weird thing was, though, the sound kept coming out of the speaker on the device as well as the soundbar. So I'm not quite sure what to do with that, to be honest. You turn the volume down on here and it turns the volume down that comes out of the headphone jack as well. Obviously I could just turn my soundbar up much, much louder, but it just seemed kind of weird that plugging the headphone socket doesn't... maybe I hadn't plugged it in properly, but no, I'm sure I must have. Or maybe it's the cable that I was using was because it was I don't know. Again, comment if you've got a different experience than me. So the remote as well. The remote's quite handy. Whacked a couple of AAA batteries in there, and off we go. But I assume that's where the remote sends to. So it's kind of tricky if you have sort of set it up somewhere and you're sat in front of it. Although it does seem to reflect off reflective things. I've been able to sort of sit at this kind of angle, bounce it off my monitor, I guess. But it definitely works better from the rear. So I've mentioned the straightening feature. That worked quite well. Was able to straighten it up very nicely. Focusing relatively easy. A little bit stiff sometimes to get moving. I did find, again, when you have it at an angle like so, you can't get the whole picture in focus. You move the focus point kind of from the top of the image down to the bottom, but when the top's in focus, the bottom isn't, and vice versa sort of thing. So again, that's why you want to keep it as square onto your wall or screen as much as you can. It could do some kind of zoom thing as well as the focus, but I don't know if maybe no projector. It's the first projector I've really used. Maybe none of them can do that sort of thing, because obviously your only control over how big the image is on the wall is how far away you are from the wall. And sometimes you just haven't got somewhere suitable to fit to sit it on, but then it's too big for where you're projecting onto. So I know I've listed off quite a few sort of negatives there, but actually for the price that you pay, I should mention the fan. The fan's relatively loud, but you know, I think when you're actually watching things, you don't particularly notice it much. So, as I say, I've listed off a reasonable amount of negative things, but actually I think for the price that you pay, it's a really good little projector. I don't think it would be my main sort of chosen way of viewing things, just because the image quality isn't as good as a high def television. You know, I've got two quite big TVs, so I don't have as much of a need for this, perhaps. But I think for the price, it's worth a go. Really, it gives a massive big image projected off your wall, reasonably good quality. The sound thing may be a bit tricky. If you've got a nice simple plug-in decent speaker, then that makes life a lot easier. The build quality I think is very good. I love the kind of soft touch plastic. The buttons are all very responsive. So all in all, although I've listed a fair few negatives, all in all, actually I think for the price, I would assume you've got to pay a lot more money to get a device that doesn't have some of those negatives. So all in all, I think the Blitzwolf is a very good projector. I'll leave a link in the description down below of where you can buy it from. If you've got a bit more information on one of these, because I did have a look around, there's not much out there yet. I think it's quite a new product. So maybe if you're watching this video in 2 or 3 months' time or longer, there'll be more information out there, and you'll be able to answer some of the questions that I've had. So there we go, the Blitzwolf projector. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.